Breakthrough News is being attacked nonstop by what appears to be a CIA, Mossad, deep state, whatever you want to call it, front organization. For the past year, we've been harassed and slandered by a group called the Network Contagion Research Institute, or NCRI. Their hit pieces have been cited by a bunch of news outlets as if they were unbiased reports, and also by congressional committees and pro-Israel politicians trying to shut down the Palestine solidarity movement and attack the US left. In addition to Breakthrough, they've attacked some of the main groups driving Palestine solidarity activism: the Palestinian Youth Movement, Code Pink, Answer Coalition, the People's Forum, National Students for Justice in Palestine, Al-Auda, and the whole Shut It Down for Palestine movement as part of one giant evil ecosystem. The NCRI presents itself as an independent research institute tracking cyber social threats in partnerships with universities. Sounds pretty harmless, right? How could you be against anyone that's fighting cyber social threats? But we looked into the NCRI, and it's being run out of a place with lots of CIA connections by people who are clearly taking money from Israel. Most of NCRI's reports focus on two topics: China and Israel. Regarding China, they basically put forward the idea that China is spreading pro-China propaganda in the US and that it's using TikTok to influence young Americans on a variety of issues ranging from the Middle East to the trade war. On Israel, their goal is basically to portray the Palestine movement as an anti-Semitic movement that's secretly backed by terrorists, China, or both. So in many ways, their goal is to tie the US Cold War against China to Palestine by saying that China is responsible for pro-Palestine sentiment in America. I won't get into the methodology of these studies because that could probably be its own video, but I want to talk about who's behind the NCRI. The NCRI was founded in 2018 by a guy named Joel Finkelstein. Joel Finkelstein was a neurologist who studied the brains of rats, but claimed that his studies also gave him insights into humans. He founded the NCRI alongside a guy named Adam Sohn, a businessman. Both of them are big supporters of Israel, especially Finkelstein. The NCRI is based out of Rutgers University's Center for Critical Intelligence Studies, which has long been regarded as a front for the CIA. During the Cold War, the CIA conducted mind control experiments on Hungarian immigrants at Rutgers as part of its infamous MKUltra mind control program. The CIA also funded research at Rutgers and even stole research from students to use against the Soviet Union. The CIA and other government agencies still openly recruit out of Rutgers University. A quick look at the job listings on the Center for Critical Intelligence Studies website shows a litany of jobs for weapons manufacturers and the US national security state. CCIS also receives grants from the Defense Intelligence Agency and has classes taught by FBI and CIA agents. But today, it's also very common for non-governmental organizations to do the work of the national security state because it's less suspicious than operating directly through US federal agencies, which have developed a reputation for subterfuge. NCRI advises the Department of Homeland Security on how to identify threats, and its research is often used and cited by government law enforcement agencies. Its most widely cited study was one alleging that TikTok was controlled by the Chinese government and was widely cited as the intellectual basis for the attempt to ban TikTok in the United States, which, if we remember, was also heavily being pushed by the Israel lobby. NCRI also has clear ties to Israel. NCRI's founder, Joel Finkelstein, was a fellow at the Anti-Defamation League, the central institution for equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism in the United States. A cursory look at the reports NCRI has written shows their obsession with the idea that the pro-Palestine movement is a front for terrorism. Here's a report accusing a Palestinian professor of being a pipeline for foreign terrorism. Here's another report accusing a charity for Palestinian children of being a front for terrorism. Here's a report accusing us of being not only pro-Hamas, but also of being funded by China. The lead researcher on this paper, Alex Goldenberg, retweets blatant Israeli propaganda-like posts from the Israeli-backed American-manned sham aid organization, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which itself cites NCRI as a source. Goldenberg also happens to be the director of national intelligence at Naravance, a shadowy company owned by the other NCRI founder, Adam Sohn. The fact that there's all this crossover in personnel between the nonprofit research institute and the for-profit cyber intelligence firm makes it likely that it's one operation, which uses the private company for their security contracts and the nonprofit side for the innocuous-looking partnerships they don't mind disclosing. The NCRI's accusation that we're funded by China is, of course, a total lie. But let's look at who's funding the NCRI. In 2022, the NCRI got almost a fifth of its funding from the Israel on Campus Coalition. The Israel on Campus Coalition operates in the United States, but secretly takes its directions from the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs, as shown in an Al Jazeera documentary called The Lobby USA. Al Jazeera actually came under such heavy attacks from the Israel lobby that they chose not to air this documentary, but you can still watch it on the Electronic Intifada's YouTube channel. NCRI also receives donations through another group in Israel called Hetz for Israel. They have an incredibly vague mission statement that says, quote, "We initiate tailor-made activities through a global network of world leaders, policymakers, opinion leaders, and change makers to positively impact Israel's national security." But if you listen to their CEO, they're basically a go-between for rich Israelis and Zionists to give money to pro-Israel organizations, essentially obscuring the real source of the money. What's strange is that, according to documents, Joel Finkelstein also appears to be on the board of Hetz for Israel, so he's also indirectly paying himself. An older version of the NCRI website's About page also showed that NCRI has ties to the Charles Koch Foundation, who Adam Sohn worked for, and George Soros' Open Society Foundation. But if all that's not enough, here are Joel Finkelstein and Adam Sohn being summoned to the Israeli parliament to report their finding to Israeli legislators. They spoke to the Israel-American Jewry Relations Caucus, which is an entire caucus in the Israeli parliament dedicated to coordinating activities between Israel and Jews in America. So there you have it. The group that's accusing us of being foreign funded is working for a foreign government. It's no surprise that they're freaking out because recent surveys show that support for Israel has collapsed in the US, and huge numbers of people now support Palestine. So it should really come as no surprise that they're smearing the movement and the media outlets that tell the truth.